We've talked about Oracle and Robin and Batgirl and Batman and Nightwing. So today, your geek history lesson on Batwing is now in session. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason, an armored Batman Inman. Welcome to the Mind University, because that is what we call Geek History Lesson. This podcast that you are listening to as we explain one character, one construct, one team in pop culture and tell you everything you need to know about them in a little bit less than an hour, sometimes more than an hour. And today's featured pop culture subject is who, Ashley?
Batwing.
Batwing. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Batwing.
Yes.
Can we make that work?
Sure.
Why not? Shouldn't every Bat character be na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Batwing, Bat something?
I mean, they don't all have Bat in their name.
Are we going to have a discussion about what we think about that name, Batwing?
No. Do you want to have it now?
No, probably not, but that's probably a pretty good discussion. All right, so today's character is Luke Fox, Batwing.
Yeah,
correct?
That's what I'm going to go over in the Tense and Origin.
That's correct. And I know we have some other characters that have been a bat or a wing, and we're going to discuss them as well. And, you know, because he's a big deal in Batwoman. CW's Batwoman, correct?
Yeah, he's the co-lead.
Yeah.
Arguably, he's the lead because he's the one who stuck around for more than one season.
Good on you.
So, shout out to Cam. I believe his name is Camrus. I've never heard it said out loud. I apologize. You're very handsome.
I'm going to look it up because we should probably know the name of this actor.
For sticking around and working on that show.
You know, that's
a good job.
I've been told.
I just meant I didn't know how to pronounce his first name because I've never heard it said out loud.
I haven't either.
It's Camrus, which is very cool. Camrus Johnson.
Camrus Johnson. He is pretty good. He was great in Crisis.
He was great in Crisis.
He's got a good look. He's a great actor. He's a great Batwing. And that's who we're talking about today. But before we get into more of that stuff, we just want to remind you all that if you want to support this podcast, you can go over to patreon.com/Jawiin. That's Jawiin. In case our Luke Fox discussion is not enough for you, just remember, everybody, we do an extra podcast exclusive to Patreon every single week called Geek History Lesson Extra. We're going to talk more about Batwing over there. We're going to talk a little bit about a Batwing movie pitches. We also do Jason and... I have so many Jason and blank podcasts now.
You have two?
There's too many. I have Jason and Ashley's Excellent Adventures, which you can a monthly podcast you can find about our personal lives, and then also I do the Jason and Jeremy John about Justice League, where my best friend and I, Jeremy Skinner, we review every single episode of the Justice League animated series. This month, it's the debut of Aquaman. So if you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 extra podcasts of the month, go over to patreon.com/Jawiin and support this podcast.
Yeah, and while you're over there, make your theory on who Jason's going to team up with in a podcast next, because I know who I think it is.
Oh, you have theories?
Oh, yeah, I have
Drop
theories.
it.
I bet you and Matt are going to do a politics podcast at some point.
Oh, my brother, Matthew?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've been also waiting on Jason and Brego for literal years at this point.
Jason and Brego talking about cat toys. Jason and...
Spying on the neighbor cats.
Jason and Matt moan about machinations? Mustasming. Enough of these jokes, everybody. And thank you all the super friends and supporters over there on Patreon. Let's get to talk about Luke Fox. That's what the people came for. That's what I came for.
Yeah.
Luke Fox. Let's get into the 10-cent origin, the first section of this podcast.
Why don't you ask me who the TAs are first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This lesson was requested by certain GHL listeners, which you can do, Ashley. Where can they do that?
You can do that at geekhistorylesson.com, facebook.com/geekhistorylesson, or on Twitter at GHL Podcast. You can also do it on Patreon or on the Discord if you're at that level. But the official Geek History Lesson social medias are the best way for everyone to get in touch with us.
That's right. Who requested a lesson on Batwing?
So Batwing was requested by Legendary Geeks Out, and also requested / dedicated to our good friend Brandon Marino. I don't know if anyone can hear the noise that Brego made, but he is also celebrating Brandon Marino. Listeners might remember in episode 314, our Black Heroes Matter episode, Brandon spoke very highly of Batwing as a black superhero, and he's one of the first people that I saw championing the Luke Fox story. So
Brandon
dedicating
Marino,
this to future Nightwing, Brandon Marino.
Because I know Brandon Marino is an actor. Mm-hmm. He would make an excellent Batwing.
He would make an excellent Batwing. Look, he'd make
there.
an excellent anyone in the Bat family.
Sure.
I can't wait to see him play Oracle.
Yeah, I think his portrayal also of Selena Kyle will bring us to tears. All right, let's go into the 10-cent or can we go into the 10-cent origin? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I think I have to ask permission now. No. Are we, Commander? Are we cleared for the 10-cent origin?
Yes.
Okay. The 10-cent origin is the first section of our podcast where Ashley is going to give you the Cliff Notes version, the basic details of everything you need to know about Luke Fox in case you go to a cocktail party at Wayne Manor and Commissioner Gordon says, "Hey, who's this Batwing fella?"
I think Commissioner Gordon knows who they all are.
I agree.
So, Batwing is a DC Comics superhero. The one specifically we're talking about is Luke Fox, a.k.a. Batwing, a.k.a. the Flying Fox, in a weird one-off issue we're not going to talk about. Fun fact, like I mentioned, he's the second Batwing.
Yep.
And he is a member of the Batman family. He was created by Jimmy Palmiotti, Justin Gray, and Eduardo Pansica, and first appeared in Batwing number 19, published in June of 2013. So he's a new one. He's a new baby. Mm-hmm. His team affiliations include the Batman family, Batman Inc., and the Justice League. And his abilities include being a master martial artist, flight via his suit, weapons and high-tech gadgets via the suit, being a skilled detective, and his suit also has a regenerative factor. So if you hit the suit, it can sew itself back together. Jason, before we finish the 10-cent origin, I have a very serious question for you.
How ridiculous is it that he has two first names for a middle name? He's Luke Fox.
How many detectives does Gotham City need? The Bat family are all non-professionals. The definition of a professional is being paid. How many detectives does Gotham need?
How do you mean? Because they have the whole police department, so they're a bunch of detectives.
Yeah. Plus, it's got an army of non-professionals running around also being detectives. Every member of the Batman family is described as being a skilled detective by DC Comics.
Okay, you're making a point that Luke is also called a detective as well.
Yeah.
Well, they're not technically as far as I know, none of them are licensed.
No, not a single one.
Investigators.
Dick might have been because Dick was a police officer.
That's fair.
So Dick maybe.
But let's just say that as far as we know, none of them have a private inspector license. Mm-hmm. So technically, they're all amateur inspectors.
Yeah, because the definition of being a professional is being paid.
They're vigilante inspectors.
Yes. Too many is the answer. Okay. In continuity, Luke works as a police officer.
Cool.
Following in the footsteps of Jim Gordon and Dick Grayson. And this is presented as an explanation for why Luke is such a good detective. If you were wondering why.
I buy it.
I wish police training were as effective as the DCU believes it is. And running at the 10-cent origin, Luke Fox is portrayed in live action by the already much discussed Camrus Johnson in the Arrowverse, appearing in Crisis on Infinite Earths. You can check out our Crisis Club episodes, by the way, while you're over at the Patreon.
I just want to throw out a quick message to Camrus. Camrus, I know you're listening. First off, sorry that we didn't know your name, but
I knew it. I just wasn't sure how to pronounce it properly, and we do our best to pronounce things properly.
Second, you got really great hair. Excellent hair.
Yeah, and you look good in the glasses.
Yeah, keep the glasses. Yeah, even after Batwoman, keep the glasses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if he actually wears glasses, but they're a great look.
Keep the glasses, cameras.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and let's move on to the second part of the podcast, Jason, which is...
The Meet Cute. Yeah. That is where Ashley and I describe where we first meeted and cuted the character, because it's a term that we stole from Romantic Comedies. Ashley, I'm very curious, where did you first meet Batwing?
I think like most people, I first encountered Batwing in Batman Inc., but that was the first Batwing, Mr. David. I had literally never read any Luke Fox before preparing for this episode.
Oh.
Which, no disrespect, that happens a lot on this podcast.
There's a lot of comics, everybody. There's a lot of characters. You can't keep up with it all.
No, and I will say I do remember when he was first introduced not being super hot on him, because Lucius Fox has a daughter named Tamara Fox who was romantically involved with Tim Drake for a while. And even though I definitely don't ship her and Tim, Tam is really smart and capable, and I always enjoyed when she showed up. And I don't understand why they didn't make her Batwing.
Well,
but I guess Batwing has to be a man. I mean, he's just Iron Man.
And now there's a new... Lucius Fox keeps every time we need a new character in the Gotham, the Bat family now, we just say that Lucius Fox has another kid that we've never heard about.
Well, his youngest daughter, Tiffany, is actually introduced in Luke's Batwing series, and we'll talk about her.
Well, and Luke, I think, also has an older brother who's now the next Batman.
Oh boy, didn't read that far.
Yeah.
Oh, in future state.
Future state.
Well, we're not talking about that because that would be spoiler territory.
Yes.
But yes,
spoilers. He's the next Batman.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah. Sorry.
Jason.
Yeah.
Could a woman have been Batwing?
Yeah. Why not?
Tell me I'm right.
Yeah. Why not?
Thank you.
There's nothing in the look. It's not Batman Wing. Or Batwing Man.
I just think it would have been cooler if it was Tam because she was a pre-existing character who was developed in the 90s. I think it would have been great. Instead of just like making another man to do it.
Look, you know what? This is more discussion territory than meet cute territory, but I will agree with you on that fact because we already knew Tam, and I would even buy with you. I would even buy in the fact that Tim trained her a little bit. I'd even buy that because she was his fake fiance for quite a while, and they had to keep up that ruse. And also that the Bat family is heavily male.
Yes,
You know, and could use some more ladies. It is a big sausage party.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the animated film.
Oh boy, not what I was expecting referenced.
Seth Rogen's classic Sausage Party.
Oh boy.
Anyways,
he's much better as Alan.
Can we talk about My Meet Cute?
Yes.
It's Batman Incorporated. It's the same thing. Although I will say that I first encountered Luke Fox's Batwing I read his first appearance or his first issue as written by Jimmy because it made a lot of headlines and it was like, so I was like, oh, I'm going to go check it out. And then he later showed up in Batman Eternal and that's where I encountered him as well. I will say this. I hope this doesn't ruin a future discussion. I do think the look of the Batwing suit is cool.
Oh no, that's not the Batwing suit is cool because a lot of the covers of Luke's Batwing series, the first one, were done by Darwin Cook. And he's basically doing Terry's suit just with a blue highlight.
Well, I don't want to spoil. Are we going to talk about why the suit's developed? And is there a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge towards...
No, we're not.
I do know that part of Luke's suit, or like it has been sort of stipulated that Luke's suit will become the Batman Beyond suit, or the tech that like...
Yeah. That laces it together.
Yeah,
yes, because it's very evocative of how Terry's suit will sometimes knit itself together in the animated series.
There's a Scott Snyder story that I think is now not in canon. I could be wrong about this.
Nothing is in canon. Everything is in canon.
Where they show like a suit that looks like the Batman Beyond suit. And Lucius Fox has developed it, of course, and yada, yada, yada. And now let's get to the History 101.
I do want to say, fun fact, Batwing, the first version, not Luke, was the first black member of the Bat family. And that is really important and deserves to be called out. It's pretty white. I mean, Cass is Asian, Damien's half Asian. But after them, it's just kind of the two Batwings. And I think, and then Duke Thomas obviously comes along after that, but I think that's important.
Did you already mention Cassandra? I'm sorry?
Yeah, she's Asian.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now History 101.
Yes, the main meat lesson. We're actually going to chew into the meaty, rare center of Batwing.
So, Jason, I'm so glad that you brought up Batman Beyond because in Batman Beyond, we meet a character named Lucius Fox Jr.
Do we really?
During the animated series, yes. And here is a quote about that character. It is revealed that around the time of Derek Powers' hostile takeover of Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox Jr. served as vice president, but was eventually fired by Powers, leading him to move out and form his own company, Foxteca. And then in the episode Blackout, Wayne warns Powers to leave Foxteca alone as the Fox family were close to the former owner. So a version of the character who will become Luke Fox did appear in Batman Beyond.
I completely forgot about that because also there's another Batwing connection because this amazing theme of Batman Beyond, as you're hearing right now, the opening title sequence was designed by Darwin Cook.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Who also did the opening covers for Batwing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Batman Beyond's so good. Everybody go watch it.
So you mentioned, obviously this character is not super memorable. He doesn't have a huge impact on the plot.
I completely forgot about it.
But do you think that this version, Luke Fox Jr., should have just been brought over into the comic books like Harley Quinn was brought over rather than completely inventing a new person?
Yes and no. I mean, you could argue that they could. I mean, you could say they're the same character.
They're not. They have different names.
Well, I mean, because his Batwing's name is Luke Fox.
Is Lucas Fox.
Lucas Fox.
And the character in the animated series is Lucius Fox Jr.
Interesting. Yeah, they probably, but I get it because they didn't want to just be like, oh, we don't want to have two Lucius Fox and Lucius Fox. That's, I think, the exact reason why they did it. But I would say that I'll bet you $1 million that Luke Fox is inspired by that character.
Oh, for 100%. Somebody definitely said, hey, Luke Fox had a son in Batman Beyond. Why don't we just do that? Yes. So Luke Fox is the son of Lucius Fox. Jason, do you know Lucius Fox's official job title?
I'm going to make a guess.
This is also like current continuity. So
in current continuity. Because it's changed.
It has changed over. Like he's been like head of R&D and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's not head of R&D.
I'm going to say he's chief operating officer.
You're so close. You're like one letter off. So you said COO. He is the
EO?
Yes.
Okay, is he now the CEO?
He is the president and CEO of Wayne Enterprises at the time of this recording. If when you're listening to it, he's not, I don't want to hear about it on Twitter.
By the way, I just want to get it out there that in the future state, because I wanted to look up the name, the name of the next Batman is Tim Jace Fox.
But there's already a Tim.
Shh, Ashley, don't think about it too hard.
I mean, that's all of comics, to be fair. Okay, so Luke Fox is the
comics,
because comics.
Yeah, just don't worry about it.
Luke Fox is the younger brother of Tamara Fox, who I already stated I like better. From an early age, it was evident that Luke had inherited his father's extreme intelligence and high intellect. You pretty much can't be a member of either the Fox family or the Bat family without these traits, even if you're just a paper pusher.
Look, it is in the genetic Fox blood that you just like tinkering with robot stuff.
Yeah. Luke excelled in school and went on to graduate from MIT, double majoring in engineering and business management because unlike Jason and I, he wanted to make lots and lots of money the second he graduated.
And the same school as Tony Stark?
Sure. I'm sure they were not in the same class.
I know, but there's a lot of Tony Stark similarities with these characters.
Fun fact, he also graduated 2 years early. So assuming he went to university as soon as he could, he graduated MIT at the age of 20.
Good for him.
Because of nepotism and his familial links to Wayne Enterprises, Luke was afforded so many luxuries. After he graduated MIT, he entered the American workforce with hundreds of job offers all over the world, but for some reason, didn't want to leave and go anywhere fun, like Tokyo. And I mentioned this in the Bart Allen episode, but if you live in Tokyo and you have a guest bedroom, please let us know.
Putting a lot of judgment on Luke here.
Look, I just want to set it up as like, he is very much a golden boy. He can do whatever he wants. If you are 20 and you're a genius and you've graduated and your family's rich and you have no debt, travel the world, man. Get some life experience. I'm talking to you. Listener, you. Travel the world. Open your eyes. Globetrotting was not Luke's focus. His focus was Batman. Jason, if you were trying to get Batman's attention, how would you do it?
Turn on the signal.
Not.
Isn't that how you do it? You turn on the bat signal?
That's not the answer I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. Then I would kidnap the mayor, and I would paint a giant Joker face on the side of a building, maybe buy a Joker blimp.
Oh, how dare you.
And a Joker fish.
I don't have to talk about him at all this episode. How dare you speak his name? So this is what Luke Fox does. He takes up MMA cage fighting because I guess he assumes Batman is into MMA. And when he's not out taking knees to the side of his head, he wants to watch other men do it on TV for money? I don't know. Luke just knows that Batman will notice his skills and intellect and recruit him into Batman Inc. if he becomes a cage fighter.
That's his plan.
That's his plan.
This MIT early graduate.
Yes, this 20-year-old genius.
I'm gonna go get my face punched in, and Batman's gonna notice it.
And look, it's a handsome face. Jason, in case anyone misses it, because we've mentioned it a couple times, what is Batman Inc.?
So Batman Incorporated, to step out of the fictional world a little bit, is a construct that was invented by Grant Morrison. And it's the idea that when Batman returned back from his supposed death by Darkseid, he decided to ensure that every country in the world had a Batman or a Batman-like hero. And he used Bruce Wayne's funding to fund these heroes. Batwing, the Batwing of Africa was one of these heroes. There was a character called Night Runner in France. Knight and Squire are the Batman Incorporated members of England. It was a great series, and it was about Batman trying to take down crime across the world. So
Luke Fox's dad, Lucius, was understandably not taken with his son's plan. He thought Luke was throwing away his shot and ignoring prospects. Lucius described what his son was participating in as, quote, a barbaric cage match, end quote. And while I don't think if my son engaged in underground cage fighting, I I would be happy with it. I also don't think there's, like I said, anything wrong with taking a gap year to figure your life out. I definitely wouldn't call it barbaric, though. But lucky for Lucius and for Luke's brain, the original Batwing, David Zavimbe, retired the mantle, and Batman went back to his quote-unquote first choice, Luke Fox. So apparently he always wanted Luke Fox, an American boy, to be the Batman of Africa, but that's fine. He doesn't even offer him the title of Batwing. Batman just goes to Luke and offers him the opportunity to be like straight up the Batman of Africa. Like that is the name of that character, is the Batman of Africa.
That was the name of all the heroes. They would call you the Batman of France, which is weird.
He's only called Batwing for publishing reasons, basically. He's
Batwing.
So that they don't have to publish a bunch of titles all called Batman, which is what they do anyway. Despite having turned down numerous other opportunities that could have taken him to Africa without having to get into nightly scraps, Luke accepts without question and lies to everyone important in his life, saying that he wants to move to Africa to spend a year in the motherland. And I know my phrasing of that might have seemed flip, but I actually think the idea of returning to the land of your ancestors for a prolonged period to learn about your culture is kind of beautiful. I think people should do that. But that's not what Luke is going to do, and his father knew it. Lucius was upset at Luke's sudden departure, and so Luke basically left in a huff and was like, "You don't understand me, Dad." We all remember being 20, right? I think it's kind of sad that they part for the first time on unhappy terms, but unfortunately there is a lot of fighting in these characters' future. Once in Africa, Luke fights Lion Mane, who is a wild villain who, according to DC, has a man's head. It's not. It's a lion head that speaks, a man's upper torso, and a lion's lower half, complete with all 4 legs. So he has like 6 limbs. He claims to be a god, but is just kind of a standard comic book villain. He's really, really wild. Lion Man works with, and sometimes in opposition to, an international terrorist organization called the Maranbuta, who are anthropomorphic ant suits. And Luke takes down both of these baddies together and separately during his stint in Africa before he returns to Gotham City fresh from his first mission. His next international outing, because again, Batman Inc., Batman's around the worlds, brings Batwing to Rome, where Luke Fox also has to put on a secret identity. And he chooses the secret identity of an MMA fighter. Really reaching there, Luke. Yeah. But you know he's in disguise because he dyes a blonde mohawk into his hair, so that's his disguise. To enter an underground combat tournament run by a character named Charlie Caligula, who's actually a Grant Morrison character, but is just as silly as you would imagine from the name. Yeah. It might shock you to learn that Charlie Caligula is obsessed with ancient Rome, and specifically the Colosseum, and his underground fighting ring is much closer to a scene from Gladiator than a standard fight in the Octagon.
So he has to fight some lions and stuff.
And tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Yeah. While working in Rome, Luke meets with an embedded member of Batman Inc. named Legionary, who's a legacy character. She's the daughter of a deceased superhero. She looks like a Legionnaire, as you might expect. She kind of looks like White Wonder Woman with red hair. Not like Artemis, although that would also describe Artemis. Working together, they defeat Charlie Caligula, and Luke finally puts his wandering ways behind him and returns to Gotham City like a good boy.
It's about time.
Jason, I want to ask you before we kind of leave the international travel behind, do you have a favorite member of Batman Inc.? You know, of sort of the not standard Bat fam. If you need to do some Googling,
I do. I know, God, I don't know what to Google to figure out his name.
It's okay. You mentioned them earlier, and I had a very visceral reaction. I really love Knight and Squire. They are the Batman and Robin of England. Squire's cool because she's a girl, and then in part of Batman Inc., you see her take over as Knight.
My favorite member of Batman Incorporated that is not Batman or one of the Batman family is of Man of Bats, who is William. Oh, yes. He's William Great Eagle. He is the Native American. He's the Native American Batman.
I'll share a picture of him.
That is my favorite Batman Incorporated member. I just think he's really cool, and the issue that he has in Batman Inc. I think is really good. Do you have one? Do you like? I mean, it'd be besides Knight and Squire.
Knight and Squire are definitely my faves. I do think Legionary is pretty interesting, but I don't know if she actually appears in any of the Batman Inc. story. I think she just appears in this
the other one that pops in my head, and I'm not really a huge fan of them, but it's because Night Runner, the French one, was because they were like, it's the parkour hero, parkour.
Except he looks like He looks like Zorro. Like, he doesn't look particularly French, which is why I think he isn't stuck
when
with
that
me.
character was introduced, everybody was like, oh, it's parkour. He's the parkour hero.
Yeah,
parkour.
because when I think of...
Parkour.
When I think of, when I think of France and Paris specifically, that's what I think of. Giant buildings you could crawl over.
Parkour.
I mean, maybe the Eiffel Tower. I don't know.
Parkour.
So Luke comes back to Gotham, and his family isn't really warm and welcoming the way he probably had hoped they were. Jason, we talked about this earlier, but Luke actually has 2 sisters, right?
I know about Tam. I don't know the other one.
So there's Tam, who we talked about, yeah. And then they share a 6-year-old younger sister named Tiffany, who is a genius prodigy, making her already smarter.
6?
She's 6.5.
Lucius, you, okay. Your children are spread across a great distance here.
Do you know Lucius's wife's name?
I don't.
Tanya.
A lot of T's.
So all the boys have L names, except for Tim, and the girls have T names. So
do you know who created Luke Fox, by the way? I just want to throw this out there. The original progenitor of
This
his
isn't the Lucius Fox episode.
Lucius Fox, sorry, excuse me.
I know who created Luke Fox, Jimmy Palmiotti.
Yeah. Do you know who created Lucius Fox?
Grant Morrison.
No.
No, of course
the
not.
late, great, and the master himself.
Len Wein.
I
did not know that.
Yeah. He's the creator of Lucius Fox.
He should just be my default guess.
Oh, it's always, if you never know who created a character in DC.
Or Gardner Fox is like the other guess.
It's always Len Wein.
Yeah, for sure. Even Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, he created all the good X-Men.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So Tiffany is important, and I promise in a flashback issue, I'm sorry, she is important. We will talk about her again. New thought. In a flashback issue that will become important later, we also learned that Luke went to a fancy...
I'm sorry. I was doing some Googling because I was unfamiliar with...
Jason had a visceral reaction.
With Timothy Fox. I raised my hand. That's what made Ashley stop. And I was like, I wonder if Tiffany Fox only showed up in Batwing. Incorrect. Tiffany Fox created by the master himself, Len Wein. Tiffany Fox is a Len Wein creation, Batman 308.
Oh, wow.
And it just took until Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti were the one that introduced it into modern continuity.
canon? Oh.
Yeah, so some of the 80s and 90s canon ignored Tiffany.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
they brought it back.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Len Wein, I guess.
Len Wein, man, you're just a master, dude. You're always a master. Wow, well done.
So in this flashback issue, we learned that Luke went to a fancy private school, like pretty much all of the Bat kids, to be honest. And he was friends with this scrawny, unpopular kid named Russell because, as pop culture has taught us, all hotties are friends with scrawny weirdos. Mm-hmm. He's really not weird. The weirdest thing about Russell is that he has synesthesia, which I don't think is really weird, but kids are monsters who would bully you for way less, so they probably would pick on him. Russell's so badly bullied that he buys loads and loads of venom off the internet from Mexico. Jason, what's venom?
Venom, Ashley, is the drug that you can pump into your veins and will make you very macho. A very big man.
The accent is killing me.
Like Bane.
That's right, like Bane.
Venom is the drug that makes Bane the man who can break the bat.
Yes.
Or the man that can break the bat. Yes, hello. Hello, Ashley. It's been a long time since Bane has been on the podcast.
Yeah. Remember when that was like how all Friends communicated for like an entire year after that movie came out?
Yes, I do. You know, you no longer have control of this podcast.
I've never had control of this podcast. I think the number of phone calls has made that incredibly evident.
Take control of the podcast, Ashley.
No, take control of your kitty. Come on. It's just like City.
There's no kitty in this room.
No, but he did make it stinky.
But I will break it.
The kitty?
I will.
Housebreak it, maybe.
There's not much venom in my system. You see,
I can tell.
this little shit on the internet bought it all.
That's right.
And I only have like a dollop left.
Okay.
I said a dollop.
You should go to bed.
Yes.
Okay. Good night, Bane.
Good.
I want to hear you snore, Bane. Thank you. It was like Homer. Me.
I should.
Batman. Catwoman. Break them.
And what does Russell do with the venom? He juices it straight into his veins and starts building bombs.
We know for a fact, if you put the DC universe into, modern or the real world context, Venom definitely has to be like a Title 10 controlled substance. So I find it funny that this kid can just go on eBay and buy Venom.
I think you mean Title 1, which is the worst one.
Excuse me.
That's like where heroin is.
Title 10 is bankruptcy. Excuse me. I was getting mixed up.
That's chapter 7 and chapter 11.
Damn it. It's late, everybody.
It's very late. So Russell's master plan was to blow up a local dam and flood the school and cause a bunch of water damage, I guess.
Why didn't he just break
kill
his friends?
on
Like,
campus?
smash him across
He
the
doesn't
knee.
have any friends. Luke's his only friend.
But he has venom in his veins.
Jason, is this a good plan?
No. He literally put venom in his veins, and his plan is, I'm going to damage the infrastructure?
It's like, I'm going to blow up a dam. Yeah. So the venom has
just buy C4, Russell.
Yeah, Jason's certified. The venom has the same effect on Russell that it has on pretty much everybody else in the DC universe. He becomes a scary, roided out monster who Luke, not Batwing at the time, this is 6 years in the past, tried to stop.
Yeah.
Luke manages to get the trigger away from Russell, but then the GCPD
Where's the trigger?
starts shooting at him completely unprovoked because, of course, they do.
Yeah.
And he falls over, triggering the bomb, and the dam blows anyway. The most uncomfortable part of this scene, I love you, Jimmy. I really do. And Justin, you're great.
They are great writers.
They are. The most uncomfortable part of this scene is as they start shooting at the only black character in the entire panel and Luke falls to the ground, his internal dialogue says, "It's not their fault. They're just doing their jobs." What a simpler time 2013 was.
Yeah, I mean...
It was just, and look, 2013 is not that long ago, but like to read this today, I was like...
Yes. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate it's unfortunate through the modern lens.
And it's not meant any kind of way, but like reading that, I was like, I'm having a reaction to this.
Yep.
So the dam explodes, water flows everywhere. Russell is washed away and presumed dead until 6 years later when Luke is back in town, living his best Batwing life, and Russell comes back to take his revenge. He's not specifically trying to take his revenge on Batwing. He's trying to take his revenge on Luke Fox because he doesn't know that Luke Fox is Batwing. Russell has been living in the Gotham Underground. Jason, do you know what that is?
You mean the Narrows?
Nope. It's called the Gotham Underground.
I have no idea.
It's a city that's just as big and bustling as Gotham, but it just happens to be in a sewer.
Yes, the sewer.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had a name.
No. Where he has been planning his revenge with a villain named Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher is a goofy Silver Age Batman villain.
Really gross.
Yep.
This version of him has his brain is exposed inside a glass dome and there's a little rat that runs around it. It's really gross.
Yep.
Like I had a visceral reaction to him. Like I said, Russell doesn't know that Luke is Batwing, but he's still mad at Luke for not letting him kill a bunch of their peers.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So what does he do, Jason? He
turns on the bat signal?
No.
Okay. Takes venom?
No. Okay. Yes. He kidnaps Luke's two sisters. Remember them?
Oh.
Yeah. So Tam, the older sister, is overdosed on venom, sustains so much brain damage she's left as a vegetable, and eventually dies.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they killed a
She's
Fox sister.
Still dead.
To this day.
It's really, you see her as a couple issues as a vegetable, and then she just dies off panel. It's really sad. Like, really, really sad. And Tiffany...
Listeners... We need to start the campaign to bring back, what's her name?
Tam.
Tam needs to be
Tamara
alive.
Fox, yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
To be honest with you, I always preferred Tam as Tim Drake's girlfriend. I'm just gonna say that.
I don't like anyone as Tim Drake's girlfriend.
Yes, because you want it to be you.
She's the best of all
you
of
are
Tim's...
jealous of a fictional character.
of so many fictional characters, in fact.
No,
in my opinion, she's the best girlfriend for Tim.
the Timothy Drake paramours.
And they are legion.
They are plenty. There was was that one girl, the Ariadna or
Ariadne, the daughter of the gangster.
Ariadne, the daughter of the gangster. It was terrible. But for me, Tam was the one that I actually thought he should end up with.
I agree. I actually like a lot of their interactions in the Red Robin series because she's kind of helping him search for Bruce Wayne.
Agree. So Tam is still dead.
She's murderized.
Wow.
Fully murderized. Right. Tiffany is merely traumatized so badly that she won't leave when Batwing comes to save her. So Luke reveals his identity to his youngest sister but swears her to secrecy and refuses to let their parents know what actually happened.
He's like, get in my damn arms. Come on.
Yeah, truly. During this horrible time for the Fox family. So... she's fine. Luke operates under the auspices as a member of Batman Inc. from this point forward.
Yeah.
And outside of the Batwing series, his next major appearance, Jason actually alluded to this earlier, is in the weekly series Batman Eternal. Jason, what's Batman Eternal?
It was a weekly series about Batman being eternal. It was written by a whole bunch of the Batman writers like Scott Snyder and stuff like that. It's
the first in a couple weekly series that cropped up around the same time.
Yeah, because they did Batman Eternal and then they did Batman and Robin Eternal. It's about a whole... There's no one singular storyline, so it's hard to describe.
Yes. Batwing is a major part of a storyline that also involves Jim Corrigan. Jason, who's Jim Corrigan?
Which Jim Corrigan are you talking about? There's two of them.
The contemporary one.
Well, the contemporary one is a police detective who's normal and human, but the Silver Agey one is also a police detective who died and became the Spectre.
Yeah, so...
There is actually a human character that's called Jim Corrigan. It's confusing as heck, and is just running around the DC universe.
Yeah, but he kind of has like latent ghosty powers.
But you're talking about the Spectre guy.
Yes.
Yes.
So together they investigate the Joker's daughter performing magical rituals on the souls of inmates of Arkham Asylum. It's a great story for Jim. Batwing does serve a purpose in that he's the muscle, but Batwing is not a supernatural dude. So in my opinion, he's a little bit out of place here. He's not as integral to the story as Jim is, but this is the first time he gets to act as a solo representative of the Batman family in an investigation. And I think that that's kind of cool and special. Luke is a supporting character in the Batgirl of Burnside era of Batgirl's solo series as a romantic interest for Barbara Gordon. And although I know that Barbara and Dick are going to grow up and get married someday, I actually really like them as a couple. It's one of...
Do they have a good rapport?
They do.
Right.
In my opinion, it's one of the more interesting parts of that series. And I don't know, Luke just brings like a different energy. I think because I love Dick to death, Barbara's way smarter than him.
Yep. Barbara is way smarter.
Yep.
Yeah. What did you think I was going to say?
Nothing. Something I don't want repeated.
Yep. That's why I backed off, Ashley.
Luke, I believe, is Barbara's like intellectual equal or slightly lesser.
Yeah, but nobody's smarter than Barbara.
No. But I think they make like a more interesting match from like an intellectual
I'll tell you what, I think Tim Drake and Batwing should team up. I think they got a good rapport.
They're both two smarties.
They're both tech-based. I think they think they'd get along.
Yeah. So he meets up with Barbara on her own globe-trotting adventure while she's stationed on investigation in Tokyo. Tokyo keep getting brought up, where they kiss.
It's a great city.
And when they're not, it is. I don't know. I've never been there. When they're not kissing, they fight bad guys together.
Oh, good for them.
Then DC Rebirth happens. Jason, what is DC Rebirth?
DC Rebirth is a soft reboot, not relaunch of the DC universe, where they gave all the titles #1 and they gave them all brand new writers. Really, nothing changed. No, seriously. Like DC Rebirth is just like this new. They did put #1s on the cover, a little blue stripe, and they said it's DC Rebirth. Go.
Yeah. During this transitionary period, a bunch of titles got canceled, retitles, or merged together. I'm looking at you, Super Sons. And the in-story reason to justify the editorial reshuffle was that Luke set aside the identity of Batwing to focus on his own company. So exactly like Barbara Gordon was doing in the Batgirl title, Luke had his own startup that was faced with the increasing struggle of growing it and upping his corporate cred while operating secretly at night as a superhero. What I like about this is it harkens back to Lucius Fox Jr., who was running his own corporation, Foxtecca. So it's kind of cool that he's like kind of come full circle on this. And ultimately, this is a nice ending, I think, to like his arc because he's finally doing what his father wanted him to do. He's finally sort of settling down and finding his place in the world. During Luke's time off as Batwing is when Tim Drake died, a horrible time that we won't ever talk about again. So Batman personally recruited Batwing back onto the team to help him in Red Robin's absence, which, to your point where you said that he should team up with Tim Drake earlier, proves to me just how smart Luke Fox is because, in my opinion, Tim Drake is the smartest member of the Bat family.
Sure.
Except arguably Barbara or Bruce.
I mean, Barbara's the smartest, I think, all around.
But Tim's definitely the smartest Robin.
Yeah. But I think Barbara is, if you were to ask me who are the smartest people in the Bat family, I would automatically go #1, Barbara, because Barbara has a mimetic memory.
Eidetic memory.
Eidetic?
Yeah.
What did I say?
Mimetic.
I don't know what that means.
It's like miming something.
Oh, there you go. But Barbara's like a savant.
Yes.
Like if you show her once, she can pick it up. Whereas Luke is like the trained genius.
Yes, and Luke is very good at building things. Like when he's first given,
he's like his dad.
When he's
like combined his dad with Batman.
First given the Batwing suit, he makes modifications to it, even though it's Lucius's original design that has been tinkered with by Bruce. Luke perfects it, as they say in the series. Luke rebuilds the Belfry. Jason, what's the Belfry?
Well, for this era of DC Rebirth Detective Comics, it was their base of operations. Was it a clock tower? No, it wasn't a clock tower. It was like
it's a belfry.
It's a belfry, yeah.
A belfry's a large tower with a bell in it in a church.
I was trying to remember the name of the specific building, but I can't pull it.
It's Old Wayne Tower.
There you go.
So this was during the era of Detective Comics where...
It was a team book.
That book was kind of everyone who didn't have anything else to do because we're focusing the narrative back on Bruce. Got to be part of this team. This was like Tim Drake's strike team.
And I will say that's not a bad idea for Detective Comics.
And they refer to themselves as the Gotham Knights.
Although there should be a book either called Gotham Knights or my preference, Batman Family.
I get that in this era where comics are made for 30-year-olds and not for children, that you don't want to call it Batman Family. I would call it that. That's what literally everyone in the world calls it. But Gotham Knights is a great title.
I've said this.
And has been the title of books
I've said this several times on this podcast. I always think, because there are so many excellent side Batman characters and side Superman characters, that there should be a book that teams them all together and Batman shows up every once in a while in our Superman. Like, in the 90s, they did it as a miniseries, and they called it Team Superman, which is something that I wouldn't even be opposed to as well.
We Are Robin is kind of that idea, but it's Alfred at the helm.
Yeah, but We Are Robin is like a completely different idea. I'm like literally talking about like Batman, like Batwing and Batgirl and Nightwing and Robin and Red Hood and Damian and all the Fox children and the Fox dogs and the Super Pets are there. They're all like teamed together, and it's the book where they get to team up. I think that should always exist. Yeah, call it Batman Family or Team Batman or whatever or Gotham Knights. It should always exist.
So, Jason, we also know that there's no way the entire Bat family can all be operating out of the Batcave.
No, there's just not enough
there's
bathrooms.
Just too many superheroes and too much equipment and too many costumes. So, should other locations like the Belfry or the Clock Tower, do you think that should be like in regular usage and we sort of rotate between them as the story dictates?
Well, Ashley, as you know, I'm a big old fan of Batman No Man's Land, which is the early 2000s one-year event where Gotham City got separated from the United States, earthquaked, and like kind of became a gangland. And part of the continuity of Batman No Man's Land is that Batman has 19 secret bases across Gotham City. So I am a big believer that Batman has all of these, like, he will like buy an apartment or buy a floor of a building and just put like first aid stuff there, a computer, probably a Batwing or
Batwing the plane. Yeah,
Batwing the plane, and just in case he needs it because he's a planner man. So I don't mind that he has multiple. I even like that in the movies where in The Dark Knight, it was like, oh, here's this storage container place that we have.
I believe it's the most recent Teen Titans continuity, but honestly, it could be the one before then. Damian basically takes over an abandoned apartment building that Bruce bought.
Yeah, in the Super Sons too,
and claims it as his own for the Titans.
In the Super Sons, they have an underwater base that's like sort of in the Bay of Metropolis, and you find out that is like sort of a Batman secret hideout thing that he had like put out there in Metropolis.
And Damian just knows where they all are.
Yeah, well, Bruce gave it to Damian to like be like, you and John can use this or whatever. Yeah, so like I don't mind that the Batman like literally like, because he's supposed to be a billionaire, so like in every city he's just like, yeah, I bought that building. That's mine.
I own half of Shanghai.
Yeah.
So Batwing rejoins Batman's team full-time in Detective Comics following an attack against them. They keep drawing him back in, and Luke just doesn't know how to quit them. He goes on to...
What a way to say it.
Thank you. He goes on to play a pretty minor part in the Bat family's battle against the League of Assassins who attack Gotham. They capture Batwing and Azrael pretty much immediately. Now, you may be asking yourself, Ashley, why are you bringing this up if all Luke does is get locked up and the key thrown away? Well, before this happened, Luke is able to disarm a tiny, tiny nuclear bomb meant to destroy all of Gotham. And that's a pretty significant accomplishment. I couldn't do it. And I just think that's really cool. And I also think it's kind of funny that this is sort of as close to contemporary continuity as we're going to get, but sort of in current, to the time of this recording, publication history, they were like, hey, this super smart black superhero we've got, we're going to team him up with the crazy French guy.
Well,
I just think they're such a weird pair.
And that's going to lead us into a
action figure spotlight.
Action figure spotlight. Because yes, Ashley glazed over the most important part of that sentence, and that was Azrael.
We're going to be back on Azrael in just a minute.
Jean-Paul Valley, the 90s crazy Batman replacement guy who's obsessed with killing people, he has a costume when he's Azrael. It's red and gold, and it has like the symbols of the Order of Saint Dumas, which is where he, the people that made him crazy, assassin, killer man. And there's very few action figures of that. And DC Classics did, and I have it, an amazing representation of that action figure, of that costume. And I will never get rid of it because they don't make Azrael costumes. The only problem with it is that he's like kind of hunched over, and he's hard to pose. But he has this big, because this is, Azrael likes sharp things. He'll either have sharp claws,
he's got a sword,
or have these giant blades.
Yeah, kind of like Wolverine samurai blades
that are on fire.
Yeah,
and he has the giant blades on fire in this action figure.
So the other reason that I brought up Luke joining the team and disarming the bomb is because it's after this act, literal years after fighting with them, that Luke is accepted as an official member of the Batman family. Those words are set on panel. Which I think is hysterical because he's obviously been a part of the team forever.
I mean, Bruce made him an employee of Batman Incorporated. How much more do you need?
Literally like a weekend.
He was on the payroll. He got the keys to the
But no, DC Continuity and DC Publishing finally let us know, like 6 years later, that Luke's allowed to stick around. And like I mentioned in the DC Rebirth continuity, Luke and Jean-Paul, it kills me that people say Valley, remain.
How should you say it?
Valet.
Valet?
Yeah.
Jean-Paul Valet?
Jean-Paul Valet.
Jean-Paul Valet.
Sure, you're pretty close actually.
Le Saint-Pebla? Jean-Paul Valet?
That's
Jean-Paul Valet?
That's a joke for only Ash.
Lupin? Jean Lupin?
Arsène Lupin.
Arsène Lupin. Hello, I am Jean-Paul Valet. Hello, Ashley.
I'm going to hate you.
My name is Azrael.
No, your name is Arsène Lupin.
No, Azrael. My name is Azrael.
Azrael.
Azrael. Yes.
Azrael. You got to roll the R in the back.
My French accent is brilliant.
Is what?
It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Me and Spanish Bane, we spend lots of time together.
Wait. Who are you? Night Runner, Rockhopper, or whatever the French Batman's name is?
No, I'm losing it.
Jean-Paul Valley.
No, we have Spanish Bane, and then we have Dark Knight Bane, and now we have Jean-Paul Valley.
Great. They remain close friends.
Of course we do.
As well as colleagues.
Yes, we.
And Luke identifies that the Suit of Sorrows, which is what gives Azrael most of his powers, is that thing that Jason was talking about.
Oh, that's the different Azrael. That's the second Azrael.
Whatever.
That guy.
That the Suit of Sorrows has been threatening his sanity, and that wearing the suit is what's been making him crazy all this time. So what does a genius MIT double major grad do under such circumstances?
Build him a new suit?
Exactly.
Did he make his new bat suit?
Yes, he did.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so since Luke had done consistent updates and audits to his own Batwing suit over his tenure as a vigilante, he felt he was like more than up to the task. However, the suit has an AI. Do you know what it's called?
Daddy?
Wow.
I don't know. I was figuring it was based off of Lucius Fox. So I didn't know.
No. This is Azrael's suit.
No, but still, I thought he based it off of Lucius Fox and just called it Daddy.
So it had an AI previously.
Okay.
It's called Ascalon? Escalon?
I don't know.
I don't know what that means. If you're into Jesus and you know what it means, let us know. Well, the AI is evil, and it could not be programmed to do benevolent work. It could only be programmed to do evil work. Because within the story structure of the Bat family, Azrael always kind of has to be evil. So the evil AI jumps from Azrael's suit to Batwing's suit and tries not only to kill Luke, but Cassandra Cain, who's orphan at the time, and Kate Kane, spelled differently, who's Batwoman at the time.
Do these people not have good firmware? What's going on here?
I guess they have no firewalls.
Are they not using a VPN?
I know you think international.
I mean, come on, Batman Incorporated.
Have you heard of V-Tunnel?
Yeah, for God's sake.
Because he's trying to kill all the members of the Batman family because he's on a crusade to quote-unquote bring divine justice, although I definitely typed diving justice, to Gotham.
Divine Justice.
Which, if you know Gotham, Divine Justice is a bit of a tall order.
I'm focused on the Gotham Harbor.
You sound so Spanish.
See.
Now, Jason, you're the only Azrael fan I know. Literally the only one.
No, that's not true.
Name one.
Joe Quesada.
I don't know Joe Quesada.
I know I've never met him. Jimmy Palmiotti's an Azrael fan. We've met him.
Oh, that's true. Hey, Jimmy. Do you think, from a writer's perspective, putting Batwing and Azrael together is a good idea? Is it a bad idea?
No,
it's an interesting idea.
It's actually a really good idea because when Jean-Paul became Batman, he made the Batman suit. It was the first time the Batman suit became technological. So to have the technology Batman fight the technology Batman sidekick, that's a great idea. That was actually, whoever wrote that, smart idea.
Great. It might have been James.
James who?
Tynan.
I was like, yeah.
We know him.
I know, but the listeners don't.
The evil suit is stopped just shy of its goal of divine justice by the timely arrival of Zatanna and Batman. This brings Luke just enough time to solve the problem of good versus evil in the programming sphere and whip up a new template for the Azrael suit. So that's where we're ending. Comic book continuity. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Batwoman show.
Okay.
So, in the Arrowverse, the much-discussed Scammers Johnson's version of this character operates much more like a comic book traditional Robin than any version of Batwing that we've ever seen on the page. In Crisis on Infinite Earths, he's playing basically a version of Terry McGinnis. Now, to be fair, he is in an alternate Earth than where Batwoman takes place. He's looking after an elder Bruce Wayne, played awesomely by the only voice of Batman himself, Kevin Conroy. And in Batwoman, we meet him as the guardian of Wayne Tower. He's the only person looking after Wayne Tower in the 3 years of Batman's absence. And then he quickly becomes friends with Kate Kane, where he basically falls into that traditional Lucius Fox, Alfred Pennyworth role, providing Batwoman. I wrote providing Batwoman with Kate, but providing Batwoman with a suit.
Maybe he was providing her with cake.
Maybe he was. And helping her whenever it needs upgrades. And in this continuity, Lucius Fox's father was actually killed, so Luke is an orphan in the traditional Robin sense of the word. He's got no parents. And that's where we're going to end our whole lesson on Luke Fox.
Cool.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's go into recommended reading.
What's that?
Which is the next section of our podcast where Ashley is going to tell you about some books in case you want to read about Batwing. You click on the widget over at geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading. We have recommended reading lists for every single episode, all 367. You can click on the book. It'll take you straight to Amazon. You can pick up the book, and a little bit comes back to the Mind University. Ashley, what are the 3 Batwingified reading choices that you have chosen for our listeners?
I would recommend that you check out the same books that I checked out preparing for this lesson, which is Batwing Volume 4, Welcome to the Family. This is Luke's debut. It begins with issue 19 of the original Batwing series. I would actually recommend checking out the David stuff as well. It's really interesting.
What do you mean with the David stuff?
So the first 3 volumes, David
the African Batman. Yep.
The Batman of Africa. And I think they do a really good job at integrating like Africa and like...
My mind like autocorrected to Peter David. So
that's okay. Traditionally like... what certainly an American audience would think of as like African issues into that.
Sure.
But this is a Luke Fox episode, so check out Batwing Volume 4, Welcome to the Family. That's his debut. Batwing Volume 5, Into the Dark. That deals with Tam's death and with Tiff and a lot more of the family drama once he comes back stateside. And then I would also recommend DC Rebirth Detective Comics Volume 1. This is the team all getting together. It's kind of his most prominent appearance in the DC Rebirth continuity.
But Luke doesn't show up until like after the 7th or 8th issue, I think, into that.
That's yes.
Yeah.
And this begins his story with Azrael that we covered toward the end of this lesson. So there you go.
And you want to read that one. Definitely want to read that one. Are we going to have a discussion?
We are going to have a very brief discussion.
Great. Is it going to be about Azrael?
No.
Should be.
No.
All right.
We haven't done an Azrael lesson.
That's weird. How have we not done an I don't think we have. I don't think we have. And if you want to request an Azrael lesson, go back to the beginning of the podcast and listen to those places.
I think we have.
Have we?
I think so.
Have we done a Jean-Paul Vallat?
But I'm going to ask you, and then I will Google it.
Okay.
Is it too obvious to have made Batwing Lucius Fox's son? Nepotism and like father-son relationships are a proud tradition of the Batman oeuvre, but like, is it too obvious that now not only is this everyone's related to Bruce Wayne, but everyone is related to Bruce Wayne and everyone on his staff.
No.
Pourquoi?
What is too obvious and kind of annoying is, and again, I didn't know that Len Wein created that daughter. Maybe he created Luke Fox as well. I don't know.
No, Jimmy Palmiotti created Luke Fox.
Well, but I mean, like, I don't know. And maybe there is some secret Earth 2 story where like Lucius Fox has like 17 kids, and in modern continuity just has never introduced them post Crisis on Infinite Earths. I actually think it's a really good choice because Lucius Fox is a great Batman character, and I like the idea that he has kids. It makes him more involved. The fact that's kind of annoying is that there are like 17 Fox siblings, and that every time we need a new Fox sibling, we just introduce a new one, and we just act like we've never seen them on camera before. And you're like, no, we've seen the Fox family before. You can't just, that would be like saying that Bruce Wayne has a secret brother, and you know who you are, writer, that did that. And
Bruce Wayne also had a secret son.
Yeah, that's true. But at least the secret son had been introduced before until he was introduced in the official continuity. I'm talking about a storyline where suddenly we say like Bruce Wayne has a
Wonder Woman also had a brother.
Yes.
He was hot, though.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one either. I don't
have not done a lesson on Azrael, by the way.
This is, we talked a little bit about the next Batman, and I haven't read this all, so I won't talk too much into it, and it is very current, so it's spoilery.
Skip like 30 seconds.
Well, no, there won't be any spoilers.
Oh, okay.
But I will say that I think if any more siblings beside Luke become a hero, that's where it gets ridiculous. That's where it gets a little silly. If Luke is the only one, I will buy it. I accept it. I think it's a great choice. I think it's a really smart choice that Jimmy did. But if all of the siblings of Lucius Fox become superheroes, then it gets ridiculous.
I will say that I'm very glad that there's a black hero in the Batman family, particularly because
there should be more.
Absolutely, because Gotham and Metropolis, like, notably have a lot of disenfranchised black citizens.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see.
Yeah.
It's nice to see yourself represented.
I mean, especially, and this character doesn't exist or is not in the current continuity, but I was very upset when they got rid of Crispus Allen.
Yeah.
Who, you talked about the police earlier, and the Gotham City Police are a big supporting cast member part of Batman storylines. I really think there needs to be a black detective in that group, or even maybe a black commissioner or a black mayor. Batman does need more black characters in his family, I think.
Yeah. One of the smartest things that I think on the Metropolis side of it all, when they sort of retconned that Black Lightning lived in suicide slums, I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. They don't call it suicide slum anymore.
I know, but it was because Superman didn't go there.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah. Jefferson Pierce. I like Jefferson being from Metropolis. I like that a lot.
He's great. Check out our Black Lightning episode.
What do you think about it?
I think it's too obvious.
Okay. Now, can I ask you? Are you just because you're a comic fan that you like? I mean, think about it from Gotham City perspective. Do you think it's still obvious then? Because nobody knows that Lucius Fox is connected to Batman.
I mean, no, but I think in terms of like a writerly perspective, I think it's the easiest option. I'm not saying I would have done anything different.
No, I wasn't saying that either.
It just sometimes comics feels like, I make this joke about Star Wars a lot.
Very insular.
That Star Wars is space Kardashians.
Yes.
And sometimes, and the Bat family is my favorite part of the DC universe.
They're your favorite space Kardashians?
Don't get me wrong. But sometimes I feel like we could open the world up a little bigger.
Ashley,
that's all.
Can I end our discussion with, have we done an Azrael episode?
No, we have not.
How the heck did that not happen? Well,
because he's done literally nothing.
Listeners, Jean-Paul Vallée here. Jean-Paul?
Luke Fox got a television show in less time.
Jean-Paul Vallée? Oui.
Jean-Paul Vallée.
Jean-Paul Vallée? Oui.
Oui, c'est ça.
Episode request?
Demandez. Un épisode.
I know
sujet.
I know Spanish, so it's going to be so hard for me not to just default into Spanish.
Au sujet.
Oui.
De Azrael. Sur twitter.com, twitter.com/ I don't know the French word for / Geek History Lesson. GHL podcast. GHL podcast.
Welcome to Translation Corner.
French Spotlight.
All right, let's move on.
Teaching tweet time, Jason's favorite part of the show.
Yes, that's where Ashley is going to tell you. She's going to sum up everything you need to know about Luke Fox in whoever knows how many characters or emojis Twitter lets you use now. But you can go find this tweet at GHL Podcast if you follow us on Twitter.
Luke Fox, the hottest Batwing. A fresh take on the hero Gotham needs.
Fair. All right, and now we're going to move into the honor roll, and that is if you go over to Apple Podcasts and you leave us a 5-star review. We will read your review on the air. Doesn't matter what you write, but we will read it on the air because you help us in the search functions for other people cruising Apple Podcasts looking for a great listening recommendation. And Ashley, who is going to join the Mine University honor roll this week?
I want to say 2 things. One of these is my favorite review we've ever got.
Whoa, that's a high bar.
I think I also said that in the past. The second one is my favorite iTunes username we've ever had. So we're going to start with the first one, which is my favorite comment we've ever had from LLEGS, who says, perfect podcast for nerdy moms. Bottles, laundries, naps, characters I care about so enhance my day.
Is this your favorite review of all time?
It's my favorite review of all time. Also, shout out to all the nerdy moms.
Yeah, well done, nerdy moms. Have you named your kid Jean-Paul?
I know.
Consider it.
And then this one, this is my favorite name of a iTunes username of a reviewer.
You got 2 favorites in the same episode. All right.
It's from the guy leaving this comment who says, don't miss class. Jason and Ashley have put together an excellent podcast. This is a great way to not only get informed on various characters, but also perhaps spark an interest in some that you may never have thought about. May class always be in session. So you're both adorable and I love them.
Both of you, welcome into the teacher's lounge. Over in the corner, you'll find Professor Ween. He teaches how to be a badass and hairstyling. And what I mean by that is go Google Len Wein and look at his picture from the 70s and find his do. And he's got a yellow background. He's wearing a blue shirt and he is magnificent.
He had magnificent locks until he crossed the rainbow bridge.
He did. But I'm showing Ashley a picture. And Len Wein,
what a goddamn star.
Len Wein, besides being one of the greatest comic book writers, arguably
writers, period,
greatest writers of all time, he could rock a fro.
He had luscious locks.
By the way, I got to meet him a couple times, and so did Ashley before he passed away, and he was one of the nicest professionals I've ever met in comic books. So.
Yes.
But we'll show that picture because he looks like a man beast.
He does.
And I love it.
He does. He's ready for love.
and for naming every comic book character an awesome name in existence.
That's true, including Nightwing.
Yeah, and including most of the Fox family.
I meant Nightcrawler, but I said Nightwing, and that was definitely
We're all over
wrong.
the place in this episode.
Take us away, Jason.
Don't forget to download and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, all kinds of places where you listen. We're on Stitcher. And also, if you have a friend or a family member or even a foe that loves the Bat family, then suggest they listen to this episode of Batwing.
For the Batwoman fan in your life.
Yeah, share this podcast out. It's how we can get more listeners into the Mine University and our enrollment can go up. And don't forget that you can suggest future lessons like Jean-Paul Vallet on our social media. Where they can do that, Ashley?
Vous pouvez faire ça sur www.geekhistorylesson.com ou twitter.com/GHL podcast or facebook.com/geekhistorylesson. You can request Jean-Paul Vallée.
And you can also come over to patreon.com and get some more patreon.com/Jawiin. That's Jawiin. Get a little bit more Geek History Lesson podcast. This week's Geek History Lesson extra episode will be what, Ashley?
Batwing movie.
Batwing movie
Question
pitches?
mark?
Okay. And you can follow Ashley on Twitter, Instagram at Ashley V. Robinson. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jawiin. That's Jawiin. And now to hashtag stick around, the very final part of the podcast where Ashley, make sure you stuck through the plugs. Ashley, what are we talking about? It's hashtag stick around.
This one is for Brandon Marino. Jason.
He's not here right now.
I know, but I know he'll be interested in this.
Okay.
How do we feel about Stephanie Brown being introduced as a potential love interest for Luke on the TV show?
Is that happening in CW Batwoman at the time of this recording?
Yeah, at the time of this recording.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm fine with it. It's okay. I really don't have any feelings otherwise because I know that I'm the odd duck in terms of comic fandom because a lot of comic fans want everything that happens in the movies and the television shows to be exactly the same way it happened in the comics, and they get all riled up about it, and they write messages on Reddit. And to be honest with you, I just think any comic book television show or movie is just cool. The fact that it exists, and I understand adaptations. And so I'm totally cool with Stephanie Brown being Luke Fox's girlfriend. Doesn't matter to me. To me, it's cool that Stephanie Brown is now in live action. That's cool to me.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people don't always think about the fact that Stephanie Brown is probably the only Batgirl that they could get licensed for that TV show, because
Barbara's going to be in a movie. Probably.
Barbara's going to be in a movie. Cassandra's already in a movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Steph's kind of your only other option.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Steph isn't going to be in a movie anytime soon.
Yes, and we should also explain too that like when you write for a company like Warner Brothers,
which controls character rights, you don't always get to make these decisions. You also play with what you get.
You don't get to choose every character you want to use. Like they will tell you these characters are off limits, which is the reason why Superman didn't show up in the Arrowverse for like 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we can't have it. People will get confused.
That's why she was called Thea instead of Mia for some reason.
It's the reason why I think they're relaxing that limit a little bit more, but that is definitely a thing. I think it's fine. I think it'll be cool to see Stephanie Brown in action. I wonder if they'll make her a spoiler. I wonder if they'll make her Batgirl. I don't know which way they'll go.
Ooh, I didn't even think about them making her Batgirl.
Yeah, well, because she is a Batgirl, right?
She is,
and it is Batwoman.
She is a Batgirl. It's a great Batgirl costume. Yeah. I think the spoiler costume is really cool too, though.
I would hope it is really cool. I would hope they make her spoiler. Just so we get the chance that we get to see spoiler in live action.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
There you go, everybody. That is it for this lesson on Batwing. I think we learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
I think we did. This is a great lesson. Ashley, excellent job. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I am Jason Jean-Paul Valet Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And Professor Ashley, will you please dismiss this podcast?
Class is now dismissed.
Are you sure? I just woke up from my nap. Is the podcast over?
I want to Vulcan neck grip you.
Hey, what is that? What is the Vulcan neck grip?
Because then you'll go to sleep.
Just go ahead and try it. Let's see if it works against my venom.
I don't know. Your corded muscles are so thick.
Just say pinch and we'll know. The listeners will know that it happened.
Pinch.
The Simpsons. Batman Beyond. Request a Jean-Paul Valet, GHL. Yes.